Sometimes in life, there's a big mistake a lot of people make, and it looks harmless. You get an idea, something that excites you, an opportunity that could change your life, and the first thing you do, you tell people, your friends, your family, and anyone who would listen. At that moment, it feels good. They react, they talk, and sometimes they even praise you. But slowly, something strange happens. The energy you had starts to fade. Doubt begins to grow. And before you even start, you feel tired. Not because the dream is too big, but because you exposed it too early. These days, the use of social media has increased the habit of sharing our dreams and opinions outside. But remember, a small candle cannot survive in a strong wind. The moment it is exposed, the wind blows it off. But when the candle is covered and protected while it burns, the flame grows stronger. Later, that same flame can light 1,000 other candles. Listen carefully, because every line in this story can change the way you act. In a small, peaceful village, surrounded by wide green lands, there lived a young boy named Arian. In fact, if you meet him, the first thing you'd notice isn't his strength or his wealth, but it was his mind. Arian was always thinking, always planning, and always imagining a better life for himself. He wasn't lazy. He worked harder than most people at his age, but there was something about him that people didn't take seriously. Arian talked a lot. Indeed, every idea he had, he shared it. If he thought of starting a farm, his friends would hear about it. If he planned to learn a trade, everyone would know. And if he had a new opportunity, it wouldn't stay quiet for long. At first, people listened, but over time, their reactions changed. Sometimes they laughed, sometimes they doubted him, and most days, they said things that sounded like an advice, but in reality, it felt like discouragement. You always have plans, Arian, but nothing had ever happened. Are you sure you can do that? You think too big for yourself. Arian would smile it off, but deep down, it affected him more than he admitted. One morning, Arian received a good news. He had been invited for a job interview in a nearby town. It wasn't a big job, but to him, it was a step forward. He felt hopeful, and like always, he told his friends. At first, they were surprised. Then came the questions. A job interview? Why would you work for someone? You should start something of your own. Is that really your level? Arian stood there listening, and suddenly, it hit him like a storm. These were the same people who discouraged him whenever he wanted to start something on his own. But now, they were questioning him for taking a job. For the first time, he didn't argue. He just nodded and walked away. That evening, he sat alone, quiet and confused. It felt like no matter what he chose, there would always be noise, always opinions, always doubt. And for the first time in a long while, Arian felt tired of talking. A few days later, someone introduced an old man in the village to Arian, a man people respected. They said he had a way of mentoring young people to become better. His name was Grandpa Joe. Arian didn't think too much about it. He just knew he needed guidance. So one evening, as the sun was setting, he went to see him. Grandpa Joe welcomed him like he had known him for years. They sat outside where the air was calm and quiet. "What brings you here, my son?" the old man asked. Arian hesitated for a moment. Then he spoke. He didn't rush. He explained everything. His ideas, his habit of sharing them, the reactions he always got, and how it was draining him. Grandpa Joe didn't interrupt. He just listened. When Arian finished, the old man slowly stood up and walked into his room. For a moment, Arian wondered if he had said something wrong. But then Grandpa Joe returned, holding something in his hands. It was a piece of gold. He sat down and placed it gently in Arian's palm. "Tell me," Grandpa Joe said softly, "why do you think I kept this inside a safe?" Arian looked at the gold, then back at him. "Because it's valuable," he replied. The old man nodded. "Exactly, Arian. The most valuable things are not left out in the open, not because they are weak, but because they are important." He paused, letting the words settle. Then he continued, "Gold doesn't appear on the surface. It is buried deep in the earth, hidden for a long time. And while it is hidden, it is forming, becoming something precious." Arian listened more carefully now. There was something in the way the old man spoke, something that felt personal. Grandpa Joe looked at him directly and said, "Your ideas are like this gold. Your dreams, your plans, your visions, they are valuable. But you keep placing them on the table for everyone to touch, question, and damage it." Arian felt the truth in those words immediately. The old man continued, "Not everyone you speak to understands what you are building, and not everyone wants to see it grow." Arian swallowed slowly. Then came the part that stayed with him forever. When you talk about your plans too much, you release the energy meant to build them. You feel satisfied, as if you've already done something. But in reality, nothing has been built. Silence followed, but this silence was different. It wasn't empty, it was awakening. That night, Arian walked home quietly. He didn't feel confused anymore. He felt clear. For a long while, he understood what has been holding him back. It wasn't his friends, it wasn't his environment, but it was his habit of exposing everything too soon. From that day, Arian changed, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. He stopped announcing his plans. Arian stopped explaining himself. He quit seeking opinions. Instead, he started working in silence. Early mornings, late evenings, and days when no one noticed. He found a piece of land and began cultivating potatoes, vegetables, and anything he could grow. It wasn't easy. There were days he felt like giving up. Days he almost went back to his old habit of talking instead of doing. But he remembered the gold, and he kept going, quietly. Months passed, and one day people began to notice. What used to be an empty land was now full of life. Healthy crops, strong harvest, something real, and something undeniable. It was Arian's work. The same people who once laughed now stood in admiration. They asked questions. They wanted to understand. How did you do it? When did you start? Why didn't you tell any of us? Arian just smiled and stayed calm. After many years, when young people in the village began to gather around him, asking for advice, he didn't give long speeches. Arian spoke simply. A small candle cannot survive under a strong wind. The moment you expose it, it goes out. They listened closely. But if you protect that flame, if you let it grow quietly, there will come a time when it is strong enough to light 1,000 others. He paused, then added, "Not everything needs to be announced. Some things need time. Great things need silence." Arian smiled again and said, "Work on your life the way a writer works on his book. He doesn't publish every page the moment he writes it. He takes his time. He builds it in silence. And one day, the world sees the result." Arian didn't become successful overnight. He became successful the moment he stopped talking. and started protecting what mattered. Because in the end, the loudest success is the one that was built in silence. If this video really helped you, kindly hit the subscription button, like, comment, and share for it to reach many audience.